welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing off my Alela Artful Provocateur Commander deck. So here's Alela. She's an Esper Commander. Costs 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 black to cast. She is a 2/3 legendary fairy warlock. She has flying, death touch, lifelink. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So the way this deck is set up is it's actually Alela combo. So Alela doesn't have a lot of combos that pop off with her, but I do have a secret commander in this deck that does have some combos, as well as a few other combos. So the idea behind this is a lot of cheap artifacts and protection enchantments that if you cast them, you can create blue fairy tokens and hopefully stall long enough to get your combo pieces. Yeah. Start with the mana rocks. So we've got a Secret Lair Arcane Signet here in foil etch. Here's an Azorius Signet. So this is the ramp in the deck, Urza Signet. The Talisman of Hierarchy. And of course, it's a commander deck, so you gotta have a Soul Ring in there. This is also a Secret Lair Soul Ring. Now we move on to some of our artifacts. Card draw and ramp. So we've got Solemn Simulacrum. Smothering Tide. I mean, enchantments matter in this deck, and it's commander, so Smothering Tide is in there. Swiftfoot Boots. That's to protect a few of our important creatures. Lightning Greaves in there for the same reason. Mirror Maid, love this card. It's very versatile. You can copy any artifact or enchantment on the battlefield, or you want to copy something of one of your opponents. Great card. Here it is in the foil. And then copy enchantment. So same deal. It just can only copy enchantments. A little easier to cast because it's only 1 blue, but great card. And Esper Sentinel. And this guy is great for card draw. He's also an artifact, so on the cast you'll get your Alela trigger. Skull Clamp, artifact. It's also a great card draw. If you attach this to a fairy, it'll actually kill it. You'll get to draw 2 cards. So Scroll Rack, very important in combo decks. Moonsilver Key. You can sacrifice this to search for an artifact with a mana ability, and it goes to your hand. That's good. I've got Chromatic Sphere and Chromatic Star. I love these because they're only 1 to cast. You're gonna get a token if Alela's on the battlefield, and then you also get card draw, and you're not really losing any mana when you use them. The Brainstone does allow you to brainstorm, but you get the artifact trigger on the cast, so it's a little adds a little more to a brainstorm. Plus you can hold off using it for when you actually maybe need it. Reality Chip. I love this card. This is a newer Equipment Jellyfish, legendary. I think this card is very underrated. It is decently valuable, but as time goes on, I think it will become more valuable. It's only 2 to cast. It's an Equipment Jellyfish creature, so it's 2 to cast for a 0/4. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, so that's just a great ability all the time, especially if you have scrying effects or draw effects. This helps a lot, and you don't have to reveal it to your opponent, so it's not like playing with the top card of your library revealed. And then if you attach this to a creature, which costs 1 blue and 2 colorless, you can then cast and play lands from the top of your library. Heuristic Study. You need this in there to give you some card draw. So Tainted Pack. This is a fun in Commander, since there's no real redundancy besides your lands. This is great for searching your library for a particular card. 1 black, 1 colorless, exile the top card of your library. You can put that card into your hand, unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. So unless you have basic land redundancy, that's not going to be an issue. And then you get to repeat this process until you choose to put a card into your hand, or you exile 2 cards with the same name, which typically isn't going to happen. So it's nice because you don't have to put the card revealed in your hand. You can leave it in exile, and you can keep doing that until you find the card you need. Plus, it's also instant speed, which is nice. Consider another instant speed card that has good card draw and card advantage. Preordained, so more card advantage. Strategic planning, more card advantage. The big difference between this one and a few others is that it does put the card in your graveyard, and there are some cards in this deck that will allow you to fetch cards from your graveyard. So that can be a strategy if necessary. So that's it for card draw and card advantage. Now we're on to a bit of removal. So Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, great for exiling creatures. Vindicate for destroy target permanent. Probably would be better with an Anguish Unmaking, but I do not have one of those, so this is a substitute until then. And now for a little bit of control. So Aethersworn Canoness, this is great because we have the Artifacts Matter, so this can sometimes help slow down our opponents, but since we cast a lot of artifacts, it keeps us going. True Control, counterspells. So this is a Secret Lair, drop, foil, mark pool, counterspell original art. Big fan of that. I mean, that's iconic. So I like that card there. Fierce Guardianship. It's a little salty, but if you have your commander out, it's a free counter. Obviously, it only targets non-creature spell. Dovin's Veto, very underrated non-creature spell counter. Kind of like a negate, but it can't be countered itself, and the difference there is that it costs you a blue and a white instead of a blue and a colorless. Okay, a little more control and targeted removal. So a target opponent has to pay 2 extra to cast their artifacts and enchantment spells, and then you can sacrifice Orb of Silence to destroy target artifact or enchantment. And then we got a Bitter Blossom, so this helps create more fairies. It's also an enchantment, so it fits in with Alela. Definitely on theme. I love this Secret Lair drop. It has the matching tokens that are specific to this. So there's the Bitter Blossom. Opposition Agent, another control card. Allows us to maybe get a card we need from an opponent, but also if somebody else is trying to tutor, we get to control that. Leonin Bunis. It gives our artifacts hexproof, so that'll be important because some of our combo cards are artifacts. So here's our real protection, kind of our pillow fort. Here's Windborn Muse, so creature that makes it to where creatures can't attack us unless their controller pays 2 colorless for each creature they control that's attacking. So we have some redundancy here. We have Propaganda, which is an enchantment, a blue enchantment version. And then we have Ghostly Prison, which is a white enchantment version. And we have Sphere of Safety. So this costs more to cast, but it increases the cost because it's determined by the number of enchantments we control. Add all those together and people won't be able to attack you, or at least not with multiple creatures. Okay, so now we're getting into some of our utility artifacts. So this is Master Transmuter. This is a way we can pull artifacts from our hand to the battlefield. We also can return artifacts that if we have Alela out, we can get more triggers off of her. Junk Diver, good for getting an artifact from our graveyard to our hand. So if we've had something that got destroyed and we need it back, Junk Diver works. Baleful Strix. This is just a artifact card draw, so if I pay 1 black, 1 blue, I'm going to draw a card, create a fairy token if Alela's out, plus it's a nice blocker, Flying Death Touch. Tameshi Reality Architect. I think this is a fun card. So it's newer. Whenever 1 or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this also applies to your opponents. So if your opponents are bouncing anything to their hand or spell causes anybody to return something in your hand, you will get to draw a card. It only triggers once per turn. And then there's an ability that you can use on your turn. You pay 1 white and X colorless. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Then return target artifact or enchantment card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So kind of nice way to bounce a land, and if you've got an important artifact in the graveyard, you get it straight to the battlefield. I do like that. And then we've got Emery, Lurker of the Lock. So very important card. She's amazing. 1 blue, 2 colorless. This spell costs 1 less for each artifact you control. Usually only costs you 1 blue. When Emery, Lurker of the Lock enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. So that ability might cause you, if you don't know what's on top of your library, could move one of your combo pieces into there. But then she has the activated ability, choose target artifact card in your graveyard, and you can cast that this turn. Things end up there, we've got cards that can get them back out. Okay, we'll do a quick breakdown of the lands here. So you have Command Tower, Shipwreck March, Deserted Beach, Shattered Sanctum, Sunken Hollow, Drowned Catacomb, Glacial Fortress, Isolated Chapel, Hollowed Fountain, Watery Grave, Godless Shrine, Morphic Pool, Cave of Huelos, Silent Clearing, Mystic Gate, Sunken Ruins, Irrigated Farmland, Feeded Pools. I like these because they're cycling abilities, so if you draw them and you don't need them, helps you get a card advantage. So those are most of our duels or multi mana producing lands. So here is a Urza Saga Foil Sketch. This card's broken. With Commander especially, you can go get your Soul Ring or other 0 or 1 cost artifacts from your library, plus it does a bunch of other stuff, so that card's got to be in there. Buried Ruin, way to get a artifact out of a graveyard. Roadside, this is cool because if you sacrifice it, typically you're going to draw a card both since you control an artifact and an enchantment. Odawara Soaring City, so another this card allows you to bounce an artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to owner's hand, so you can use this on yourself or on an opponent. Academy Ruins, redundancy to get artifacts out of our graveyard. Hall of Heald's Generosity. This gets enchantments out of our graveyard. And then we've got a couple fetches, Prismatic Vista, Flooded Strand, Marsh Flats. I do not have Polluted Delta. 4 basic islands, 3 basic plains, 2 swamps in the Theros Beyond Death Pokemon lands, as some people call them. So now let's get to the real meat. So this is where we're going to show off our combo pieces as well as our secret commander. So first we're going to start with our tutors. So we've got Enlightened Tutor, which is an instant artifact or enchantment tutor. Amazing card. Idyllic Tutor, it's an enchantment tutor. Fabricate, which is an artifact tutor. War of Invention, artifact tutor that allows you to use other artifacts to pay for its mana cost. This is the Secret Lair Saturday morning Dungeons D&D drop. The art's so fun on there. Empiric Tutor. I love this because it's an instant speed tutor. I do not have a demonic tutor, but that would probably be an upgrade. Grim Tutor, so sorcery speed, but it does put the card in your hand, so that's always helpful. Profane Tutor, I think this card's underrated. It's another tutor. Yeah, it's a little slow. Sorcery speed. Your opponents see it coming. When you actually play it initially, it can't be countered. They would have to counter it on the cast after the suspend cost has been paid. And also what's cool about this is you get to do this effect and then you still get to draw a card after. And Unmarked Grave, so this is a fun tutor to put something in your graveyard. So we're on to Secret Commander time. So some may have guessed it, but it's Urza, Lord High Artificer. The reason he's the Secret Commander is because I really wanted to play Urza, but I didn't want to build an Urza Commander deck out of him as the commander. I think it's just it's salty, and I don't think it's a very fun play for most of the group when he shows up as the commander. So in this case, he's the secret commander. A few of the combos revolve around him, and it's nice because as with Alela as the commander, it allows me to play the Esper colors, but it's the retro frame, Modern Horizons 2 foil. Hold this in a pack. Awesome card. So one of the main combos is really just these two cards here. Thopter Foundry, Sword of the Meek, allows you to produce infinite tokens, also gain infinite life with the Thopter Foundry. And then with Time Sieve, you know, you sacrifice some of your Thopters and it's going to give you extra turns. And if there's not really a way for me to untap this, so typically I'd only be using it once a turn, but once you get an extra turn, you can keep doing your combo again. So probably not going to need infinite extra turns, because once you combo off, it's pretty much game over unless somebody can interrupt it. So there's one combo, and then we've got the second combo, which is Grand Architect and Pili Pala. So this is an infinite blue mana, as well as infinite this third ability on Urza. You can pretty much get any card out of your deck. So there you go. One thing to note, the Thopter Foundry Sword of the Meek combo will not work if Grand Architect is on the battlefield or Alela is on the battlefield, because they're buffing your creatures and they are no longer 1/1s. So you do kind of have to strategize around that, but that's another combo option. And then I love this combo. So a lot of people who play Legacy know of this combo. So this is the Helm of Obedience combo. So there's a lot to read there, but it's a 4-cost artifact. Pay X and tap. Put the top card of target opponent's library into his or her graveyard. Continue doing this until you have put X cards or a creature card into the graveyard, whichever occurs first. The last card into the graveyard, put into the graveyard as a creature card, bury Helm of Obedience, and put that creature into play under your control as though it were just cast. X cannot be equal to 0. So that's the ability, and a lot of it isn't very important in this deck, because the trick is you use cards that have the replacement effect of, instead of a card going to an opponent's graveyard, it is instead exiled. So if you have either Dothy Voidwalker, Leyline of the Void, or Rest in Peace on board, you tap your Helm of Obedience. You can just tap it for 1. X cannot be 0. And it's pretty much an infinite exile, technically, of your opponent's deck. So since it's a replacement effect, none of the cards actually go into the graveyard, and your opponent runs out, gets decked on that. Now, you can only do it once per turn, unless you have a way to untap it, which I'm fine because I have other combos and everything, and I think it's kind of fun to, have that. Maybe you give a couple extra turns, or you give some people the ability to try to deal with it before their time is up. So there's those 3 that have that replacement effect. You can see if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, instead exile it with a void counter on it. That's cool. And then another just fun piece that plays with Rest in Peace, because that targets you, is prevent all damage dealt to you from sources you do not control. When a card is put into your graveyard, sacrifice energy field. So the replacement effect prevents a card from being put into your graveyard. So as long as you have Rest in Peace on board, you can't die from damage, or all damage gets prevented, and your opponent's going to have to deal with either one of those before being able to take you out. So the last few things I'm going to show off. So this is my token box. I also use these for a little mini dice. These are by Cubamajig. Really, really cool. So if you're designing a cube or just want them for storage, I keep these with my commander decks for their specific tokens. See, kind of nice plastic on the packaging there. So I've got the Fairy Rogue tokens, a couple constructs for Urza and Urza Saga. This is the closest I can get to a blue Thopter. Apparently they're kind of tough to find. They're not worth very much, but they were only released in a few sets. Most of other Thopters you'll find are artifact. But he's actually blue in the picture, so I like that one. Fairy Rogues, these are the secret lair drop. They make a cool panoramic along with the Bitter Blossom. A couple just standard Fairy Rogues just for fun. These are all black Fairy Rogues. Treasure, what do we got on the back? No, nothing that matters. And then this is treasure with a Thopter, so another artifact Thopter. So those are my tokens. And Emery deck box from Ultra Pro. This is the life counter by Ultra Pro. I like the Una Queen of the Fae art, so I got that with Alela. Fits with the fairy or Fae theme. And then the matte Verdilian Clique, I believe is the card. It's got some fairies on it. I sleeve all my cards in Dragon Shield with KMC Perfect Fits on the inner sleeves. There you go. So if you'd enjoy this deck breakdown, I have about 30 Commander decks I'll be going through on a regular basis. If you have any thoughts, opinions, cards I should add, cards I should take out, anything you like or dislike about the deck, let me know. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your day.